My 18-year-old stepdaughter, Patricia, had been missing for a full 12 weeks. I was not alarmed at all. In fact, I was glad that she was gone. She had been an absolute terror, and that's what I would call her on a good day. She never listened to me. In fact, she had always seemed to go out of her way to completely disregard anything that I asked of her. My pleas for her to clean her room would fall on deaf ears. If anything, she would make an even greater mess. In her room, in the kitchen, and even in our master bedroom. I had lost count of how many times I had come into the master bedroom to see her rooting through my closet, like a hawk after a truffle. When I told her she needed to leave my things alone, she'd fix me with an evil smirk. It was only later I would find my clothes torn or with cigarette burns. I even found cat feces ground into my shoes or stuffed into my coat pockets. She was even terrible to my daughter, only 2 years old, but nevertheless, she was not immune to her half-sister's cruelty. I had been 38 when I gave birth to her, my little Eloise. Since I was an older mother, I knew she would probably be my one and only. I was afraid that I would never get to be a mother, so when I saw the positive pregnancy test, I was elated. When I had announced my pregnancy, my husband Adam had been overjoyed, but Patricia had screamed and demanded that I get an abortion. After Eloise was born, I would catch Patricia spitting in the baby's face or pinching her till she cried. The only person Patricia had any love for was her father. She was the epitome of a daddy's girl. He was also the only person who could successfully discipline her. Even then, she would scream and slam doors when she was grounded. When I started dating Adam, he had been a widower for 4 years and protective of his only child. And Patricia, likewise, was protective of her father. In the 6 years since I had met the man who would be my husband, she had made my life hell. I tried everything I could to get her to like me. I took her shopping, spending what would amount to thousands of dollars on toys, and then on makeup and clothes as she got older. I took her to the zoo, to the mall, to concerts. Anything she wanted, anything at all to get her to accept me. Nothing I had done would sway her deep-seated hatred of me. As she got older, it had only gotten worse. Now she had boyfriends. We caught her having sex in our bed on half a dozen occasions. No amount of punishment would make her stop or feel guilt over what she had done. Always she would fix me with that same arrogant smirk every time we came home and caught her. But I had endured. After all, I did love Adam. My husband had been absolutely distraught for the first 2 weeks since Patricia vanished. We had contacted the police, her friends, her many current and ex-boyfriends, and no one knew where she was. A sloppily written note that was barely readable had been left by her bed. It had said she was leaving, and not to worry about her, as she was going to Los Angeles to be an actress. Some of her clothes were gone, and her small piggy bank had been emptied. The police were certain she was a runaway. Since she was 18, she was a legal adult, and if she wanted to run off to pursue her dreams in Hollywood, it was her own business. Once her money ran out, she would come back with her tail between her legs, the cops assured us. After the second week, my husband had gone back to work, but he called every day from his office, asking if there had been any news of his eldest child. I would sadly tell him that I hadn't gotten any calls. I was thankful that he had gone back to work. He seemed like he was getting back to his old self as well. He was playing with Eloise and being extra attentive to the both of us. And I could go back to being a housewife and focus on raising Eloise. I was sitting in the backyard on the patio sipping some tea with cookies I had carefully arranged on a napkin. It was such a sunny and happy day. Our house was lovely too. It was out in the country with our nearest neighbor a mile away. We had wanted a home with plenty of room for Eloise to run around. Later, I might take Eloise to the park in town to play on the playground, and tonight, I was thinking of grilling out some steaks. My daughter came up to me then, tugging on my pant leg, as she was happily giggling and holding something out to me. "What's this, sweetie? Did you pick some flowers for Mommy?" I asked, smiling at her beautiful face. The toddler held the thing out for me, and I gingerly took it. As soon as I saw what it was, I scowled. It was a finger. To be precise, it was the middle finger of my former stepdaughter. The nails painted a bright neon blue that stood out against the decaying flesh. I recognized her middle finger from the many times she had flipped me off the past few years. She had been using it while she walked away from me in this very garden. Patricia had never even seen the axe before it buried itself into the back of her skull. I forced a smile and patted my daughter on the head. "That's really nice, sweetie. You found something really pretty." My toddler rambled off, and I wrapped the putrescent digit in the napkin, dumping the cookies on the ground. I eyed the flower bed where I had buried part of my stepdaughter. I had dismembered the body 12 weeks earlier. I thought that it would be easier to bury her that way. I had been right too. There were parts of her scattered all over my garden. Some parts were even buried out front under my pear tree. I had slacked a little bit with burying her fingers. I had been tired, you see. Dismembering her had taken longer than I thought. I had just thrown some dirt over them in the rose garden and hoped it had been enough. I was now paying for my laziness. I finished my tea and sighed, walking to the shed and retrieving my trusty garden shovel. This time, I would make sure to bury her deep.